Hello there, everybody. This is General Snivy, and welcome back to more Banjo Kazooie speedrunning. Today, I am proud to present to you all my most recent personal best. And if you couldn't tell by this setup, this is an offline run. This run was done on, let's see here, give me just a moment to pull up the calendar. It was June 12th. Here we go. June the 12th. On that day, my allergies were acting up, and I also had to do some grocery shopping earlier in the morning, so I did not feel up to streaming. So, what I decided to do was, I decided to muster up some strength to do an offline run of Banjo Kazooie to see if I can lower down this freaking PB of mine. And, thankfully, as I said, I did just that. So, with that in mind, let's get this party started. And also, this is post-commentary, if you couldn't tell. Most of this run is uncommented until the very end of the run. And the reason why it's uncommented was because I wanted to focus and just be in the zone. So in other words, I wanted to focus on the game and only the game. So that's the reason why I didn't commentate throughout the majority of the run. Heck, even when I did commentate, my microphone was muted. At least until the very end, in which case I did unmute the mic. And of course, second try backflip, because as is tradition. But seriously though, that backflip, that first backflip always sucks. It's always the most inconsistent part of Spiral Mountain. It'll basically determine whether or not you'll get a good time in Spiral, or if you're going to be losing at least 5 seconds. This applies to both Xbox as well as N64, so yeah, figure I'd throw it out there. Because why the heck not, right? Anyway, Spiral Mountain, the first trip is basically standard affair. Just grab the first 3 empty honeycomb pieces, and off we go to Grunty's lair. Again, nothing much else to say here. Unfortunately, I did lose about 4 seconds there. Again, mainly it was due to a second try backflip. But really, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now then, time to head into Mumbo's Mountain, aka Mumbo's Mountain, the first trip. Oh boy. Mumbo's Mountain first trip, this was definitely a very, very fun level. Okay, what the hell am I saying? The run has only just begun, folks. Good lord. Okay. Once again, opening up Mumbo's Mountain is just a standard affair, and pray you get good RNG with Grunty and don't get a Grunty text, which I did successfully set up beforehand with FFM. Speaking of FFM, setting that up, it took about 3 minigames in order to get that one going. Good lord, that was definitely fun, said no one ever. I got Vile twice, and TTC minigame once. Also, recently I watched 7 Hornets world record run of this game on Xbox, and I've learned that the reason why he was able to stick to this platform and not fall back down onto the hill while in Town Trot, while grabbing that first Jiggy, is because of the fact that he manipulated the camera in just the right way. He kept the camera facing Banjo at all times, and as a result, when Banjo grabs the Jiggy, he faces the camera. That's just the way that works. I'm not sure why, but again, something I've learned, and definitely worth keeping in mind for future runs. That is for sure. Also, I have not mentioned this yet, but when I was collecting the first 5 eggs from the second hut, I was not able to trigger the egg text. Instead, I accidentally got too close to the honeycomb house and triggered its text box instead. So as a result, I had to improvise and pick up a couple of extra eggs to trigger the egg text before getting to Kunga. If I would have picked up eggs over towards Kunga, that would have been bad news bears, as that would result in a pretty big time loss. Because as you know, text in this game is pretty damn slow when picking up objects. Sure, you can skip it on N64, but you cannot do so here on Xbox, because L is mapped to right bumper. Just saying, kinda dumb how they got rid of such a useful feature. It's kind of baffling if you ask me, but it is what it is. And like I said, I had to pick up those extra eggs there just to get the text. I only wanted to grab like 1 egg, but I ended up grabbing more, but whatever, it really wasn't that big of a deal. More eggs for me, and more room for error for later. Okay, time to get ready for Kunga in just a few moments. First off, I kind of made a mistake here of not rotating the camera back to its proper orientation after I grabbed the third Mumbo token. That was my mistake there, but again, I worked with that somehow. By the way, if you want to know how many attempts this run took to PB, it only took 1 attempt in this one recording. Another thing I did differently as per usual is, after I activated the first orange panel, I then grabbed an orange and then activated the last 2 panels and then proceeded over towards Chimpy. The reason why I did this is actually pretty simple. So this way I can get the orange text to pop up along with the Kunga text to start appearing a little bit sooner. Not 100% sure how this works exactly, but even so, it is a strategy that I've seen Seven Hornet do, and I figured I'd give it a try for myself. Again, I'm not 100% sure if that is actually faster or not, but alas, here we are. Time to finish up the first trip of Mumbos. Unfortunately, again, we are going to be a little behind here, but again, no big deal. We'll come back later. Quite literally. Now to Clankers. Also, one more thing worth mentioning here is that this is the last time you're going to see me use File 3 on Xbox for Banjo Kazooie to do my runs on, as after this run was done, I basically turned File 3 into my 100% file, and I went ahead and deleted File 1. The reason why I did that is because I know that selecting the first file and doing your runs on File 1 as opposed to File 3, that actually saves you a little bit of time in comparison to N64. How exactly? Well, because lag is not a thing on Xbox, unlike N64, in which case it's pretty damn strong. From what I've noticed, File 1 seems to have the most lag out of all 3 save files selected, so that's the reason why File 3 is the preferred save file to use for runs on N64. But Xbox, you don't need to worry about that whatsoever. And besides, I like the alternate animation that you get every once in a while for File 1, the best out of all 3 save files. But that's just my opinion. Okay, time to head into Clankers, the first trip. And once again, it's basically standard affair of getting to Clankers, and here is where I want the text to appear. Either here or just before, just after activating the Warp Cauldron for the first time. getting the text at either one of those two locations is the most optimal because it's away from the puzzles. Because, as I've mentioned before, you can't skip text with L, R, and B on Xbox, and if grunty text appears, your ass is screwed. How exactly? Well, you would lose a hell of a lot of time as a result, and you would also miss out on bottles giving you the ability to fill in a puzzle instantaneously with the right trigger, and all that other stuff. Not until the next puzzle, in which case that takes forever. Basically, you would lose a hell of a lot of time. Now, for clankers, you may see me do a bit of a safe strat. Instead of going in Talon Trot and jumping to the top of the pipe, I decide to roll and just flutter to the side of the pipe and then flutter upwards. The reason why I do that is because it's not only safer, but it's more consistent for me. And I'm not 100% sure, but I feel as though this is slightly faster. If not, then it's probably slightly slower, only ever so slightly. I can't really say for sure. I haven't actually timed myself versus 7 Hornets method. And this is under ideal conditions, like at the most optimal speed possible. So here I did the swim a little bit differently, just to make sure I get all the collectibles I need. Plus, I also wanted to be sure that I managed to get a proper gloop cycle and get the required amount of air in order to be able to optimally swim through this place proper. Which, I can't remember for sure, but I think I ended up failing a bit just because I didn't have enough air. Yeah, I didn't have enough air for this last section. Even though it had like 4 energy tanks, that was only for about a couple of frames. As a result, I knew I would not be able to make the swim fully. So I honestly had no choice but to resurface here and dive again. Which did cost me a lot of time here, which was unfortunate. But honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal. Still, it does suck that I didn't get the optimal swim. But hey, it still worked in the end. And as you can see, even though I missed one cycle with Clanker, I made it just in time for the next one. Honestly, I don't even know how that managed to work, but it did, which is great. Apologies for the background noise. I did bring a bottle of water with me to record this commentary with. I was going to say something now. What the heck was it? Oh yeah, if you couldn't tell by my voice, my allergies are still acting up, but they have been getting better over the past couple of days. You probably heard a bit of stuffiness in my most recent play session of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix as well, if you were there for that stream, or if you watched the YouTube version of the video in the future, which it should be releasing soon. I did upload it, but it did get a copyright claim, which I am working to mute that particular section, which honestly I expected as much because it is the Pirates of the Caribbean, and the song that was claimed is He's a Pirate, aka the main theme of Pirates of the Caribbean. Again, it's a bit weird how YouTube's copyright system works. It's dumb. But at least it wasn't a strike or anything like that. Even so, it was still annoying I got the claim in the first place. Also, the reason why I took damage from that Champa was to reduce my health. I also stood there a bit just to be absolutely sure I wasn't going to accidentally run right back into the Champa and reduce my health a bit too much. Also, first try vent jump. That was definitely quite a spectacle. Honestly, I was not expecting it to work as well as it did. But hey, it did work and I'm happy. Now for the snippets. Oh, these snippets. Again, these things are kind of inconsistent with their behavior. It seems, as of late, for me personally, it seems like the last one is a bit of a pacifist. Sometimes it'll pursue me, and other times it will not. It'll just stand there in place until it allows me to kill it. Again, I don't know why that particular snippet is a pain, but it is. And it's kind of lame, if you ask me. Now then, time to get ready for the interior of Clanker and to hop right on to the frickin' whale of joy. What can I say? He's the perfect tour guide of Clanker's Cavern. Why do you think the level's named after him? Kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. We're almost done with Clankers, folks. We just got a little bit of a ways to go and a few more things to pick up. Also, I took a bit of damage there. I can't remember if it was intentional or not. I'm going to say that it was. Just because I wanted to lower my health a little bit more just before the last section. Also, nice ground pound there. I meant to go into Talon Trot, but here we are. Also there, I did not mean to take damage there at that particular moment. I actually wanted to wait to take damage, like at the very end of this corridor. So I basically had to pray that I didn't get sliced again, and thankfully that wasn't the case. Honestly, I think it's more optimal to reduce your health to 1 at this particular point, rather than holding on to 2. I mean, 2 is safe, don't get me wrong. Especially with the way the whiplashes or whip cracks work and their weird-ass hit detection. It really isn't that bad because this whip crack that we're going to be running into to KMS, it really isn't that bad. It's very easy to dodge and it doesn't stretch as far as the Jinja, which is nice to see. Also there, I was a bit of an idiot and didn't go into Talon Trot before leaving the level. I just ran around in circles like a frickin' fool. It's pretty interesting how I managed to save 35 seconds because of that. Also there, I accidentally missed a feather. But even though I was at 4 feathers, I'm technically at the correct count of feathers because I picked up 1 earlier on in Clankers. So, again, I'm okay with feathers as of right now. Now then, time to open up Bubble Gloop and then head into TTC, aka Treasure Trove Cove. One thing's for sure, I'm definitely going to try to edit out the background noises from my water bottle and all. Excuse me. Just so that way this audio feed is a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. You know what I mean, folks? It should be easy to do since I am technically doing this in post-commentary. And I'm also using Audacity to do this commentary with. Honestly, this is probably the best thing to use as a result. Now then, time for TTC. aka not tick-tock clock. So once again, Treasure Trove Cove, we are playing this the same exact way as we would on N64. Also there, I accidentally slipped off of the tree. Thankfully, I was able to climb back up and get back on, no problem. With minimum losses, if you know what I mean. Honestly, that wasn't too bad, and it could have been far worse. Now then, time to head inside of the pirate ship, aka the Salty Hippo? Had a bit of a brain fart on the name there. I'm pretty sure it's called the Salty Hippo. Because Captain Blubber is a hippo after all. Also, Blubber, why do you have to be so far away? At least he wasn't the furthest away that he possibly could have been. But still, it wasn't great either because I had to grab the Jiggy as per usual, which was kind of dumb. Okay, next, time for this one. This one wasn't really that bad. This was all part of the course. Also, I have been practicing more with using only one feather as opposed to two. Two is safe, but one is most optimal. As for that section, I have been practicing that landing as well so I can get the most feathers possible during the landing process. And so far, my practice has been bearing fruit. Here, I unfortunately didn't make the first cycle of the chest, but thankfully I was able to make it through the second cycle with little to no difficulty. And I was even able to hop out in the same cycle. Here, I accidentally failed the quick dive because the railings were giving me a bit of a hard time. But again, not that big of a deal. A quick dive is nice, but it's not necessary 100%. It saves a little bit of time, yes, but it's not the worst thing in the world if you miss it too. Here I was a little bit nervous because I was approaching that part a little bit low. But it still worked out. There we go. Nice jiggy grab on top of the lighthouse. I still need to work on my consistency when it comes to that. But even so, that was really damn smooth. If I do say so myself. I keep feeling like I have to burp. But I just can't muster it up right now. There, unfortunately, I did miss the quick dive there, and again, that's another one of those things that I can't really nail consistently. But again, it's no big deal. So long as Snacker decides to work with you and only give you one bite instead of two, or worse, juggle you underwater until the end of time. Excuse me. Okay. As far as the rest of this is concerned, unfortunately I got a pretty unlucky smack against a frickin' crab at the end of that, or more or less when I grabbed the Jiggy, which forced the animation to take a bit longer than usual, which did kind of stink, but oh well, it is what it is, it's no big deal. And there I picked up the 4 extra feathers on top of that palm tree. Not because I needed extras, but rather so I can skip those 4 right there. And there, I don't know what the hell happened to my momentum there. Somehow I just completely missed out on the tree. But hey, it still worked out. I don't know why, but my throat is just itchy right now. I don't get it. Perhaps I need a lozenge or something? Regardless, though. Time to get ready to finish up TTC. There, I unfortunately missed out on grabbing this empty honeycomb piece in the same flight, or the same beak bomb. But again, it really wasn't that big of a deal. What was most important was that I grabbed that particular Jiggy right there, while I was still in flight. That way I could skip the animation. This one, it really isn't that big of a deal, on Xbox at the very least, of whether or not you get that during flight or not. So, again, nothing really to cry about here. Okay, time to wrap up TTC. We only got a little bit left to go, thankfully. I'm also kind of surprised that ground pound actually worked on that crab there. Otherwise, I don't even know how I would have handled that situation. Probably would have had to kill the crab and waste a lot more time than necessary. Whatever, it is what it is. Now to play Pound the Tiles with Mr. Krabs. Oh boy. Again, this room really isn't all that bad. Hitting the tiles is not that difficult, and it's probably the easiest part. The only hard part, of course, is just getting in the right position so that you can death warp after grabbing the Jiggy. Which, let me tell you, it's a lot easier said than done. And there we go. And that's TTC. Somehow I saved a hell of a lot of time here. And there I thought I was going to get hit by that grublin right there at the worst possible spot. However, thankfully I was able to get to the side of him and just get away from him in time. Again, nothing really too fancy here. It really wasn't that bad. Next up is Bubble Gloop Swamp. Did I even say that right? If not, then what I mean is Bubble Gloop Swamp. Oh, good lord, how I love being tongue-tied all the time. You know what I mean? Once again, getting this level, or no. What I'm trying to say is, opening up Freeze's Peak before heading into Bubble Gloop, this is basically standard affair. There I accidentally took a little more damage than necessary, all because I hit the side of the pipe and stuck to it for a little too long and exceeded the slope timer. But I was able to roll with it. Thankfully, it's not like you need full health in order to do this next section. Although it is the most optimal to have full health, if you only have, like, next to full health, like, 1 energy unit away, in other words, 5 health, you'll be able to do this. Barely, but you'll do it. You'll be able to do it. Just saying. It's not exactly easy, but it can be done. Especially with the right A presses, or the right amount of A presses. Also there, I was trying to jump to the top, but for whatever reason, I started to fall back down. So I started to hold forward, so that way I can grab back onto the cattail. I had to think for a moment of what those things were called. But hey, it is what it is. You gotta love the climbing physics sometimes, am I right? Sometimes they're a bit funky. And there we go. First section is done, on to the next one. AKA the first timer Jiggy. Just like as per usual, once again, it really isn't that bad. Of course, that There are a few stops along the way. Also, if you heard that popping in the background, that was my water bottle. I didn't even touch it, and yet it popped anyway because reasons. Also, I picked up all those eggs along with that Mumbo token, even though I probably shouldn't have in hindsight, but the reason why I picked them up was just so I had plenty for later. Because you never know. Some things may actually go wrong and eggs refuse to gosh diddly dang register, if you know what I mean. Especially with these golden crocs, you know how they work? Well, they don't. Okay, time for the huts. Java the Hutt. Okay, what the hell was that all about? Why did I even mention Star Wars there? It's not even close. Again, thankfully with Xbox's current world record route by 7 Hornet, you don't need to do the full jump hut strat, where you jump on top of the first 2 huts and then the second to last hut. Also there, I just got really lucky with that cycle from that croc there. Honestly, I didn't think that would work, but I just decided to YOLO it since I had extra eggs, and I figured, why the heck not? And strangely enough, it worked out great. Honestly, that makes me quite happy that it worked out as well as it did. I also picked up a little bit of extra health towards the Flibbits arena, just so that way I had more than enough for this section right here. In hindsight, I probably picked up a bit too much health here, but it wasn't that bad. Also, the reason why I swung the camera around there was just to be sure that I grabbed all the notes around that general vicinity. Also, I decided to kill that dragonfly there, just because I know that he'll get in the way. And he'll probably, more than likely, either hit me in cutscene land, or he'll hit me, like, just before I fire my shot, and will throw me completely off target. So that was the reason why I killed it there. Also, I picked up that health from that dragonfly there, just so that way I had more than enough for this next part up ahead. Right after the Tip-Top Choir, which once again is pretty standard, all things considered. Anyway, the patterns here, they really are just random patterns. Also, I decided to just jump off a Tip-Top, and I kind of lost myself a bit there, if I'm being honest. Couldn't really tell where the hell I was for a bit. Eventually I did figure it out and managed to hit the first turtle out of the 3 for the first lesson. And other than that, the rest is history. This second pattern honestly wasn't that bad. In fact, it was probably one of the easier patterns I've had. I wonder if there's a way to manipulate the Tip-Top Choir pattern. There probably is, and there's probably someone like 8-Bit Beast who's working on it as we speak. For the sake of science. Who knows? Anyway, this last pattern here for the final lesson, could be worse, but it wasn't that bad either. It was a bit disgusting when it came to the last placement, but again, it's one of those things where you can't really control it. Whether or not you get a good pattern and get the last turtle to be the yellow turtle, or even the light or dark blue turtle, or even the purple turtle at the end. what am I saying? Dark blue turtles in the middle. Well, you know what I mean. The last turtle I got in this pattern in particular, it was definitely not the right one, for sure. So, with that done, it's time to go play with Mr. Vile, right after the second switch. AKA the second timer switch. And again, just like before, I'm going to be heading through the maze as per usual, without any sort of problems whatsoever, and without jumping through the swamp unnecessarily. At least not until the very end. I can't remember, did I have 4 health here or 3? No, I think it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. Because I remember taking damage in the swamp area trying to grab the orange Jinjo. And I also skipped out on a couple of eggs I could have picked up over towards the orange Jinjo. And the reason why was because I had extras. And I figured, why the heck not? This could work. The amount I had worked out fairly well. Also, I missed the first note somehow, but I was able to quickly recover and pick up the remaining notes, and also maintain the correct amount of health. Also, Mr. Dragonfly for this area is nowhere to be seen. Honestly, I don't understand where the hell he went and why the hell he disappeared, but trust me, he's still around, and he's more than willing to kick your frickin' ass if you're not careful. Also dance around the frickin' bumbo pad. Because why the heck not, right? No, it was because I was trying to get out of Talentron and also transform at the same time. Which, let me tell you, that's not easy to do. As a result of actually pulling that off, you'll transform technically while in Talentron. And as a result of that, you would then be facing the opposite direction. Alright, now with that out of the way, here is Mr. Vile, the greedy crocodile who doesn't make me smile. I really ought to pull up the lyrics of the song sometime. Hell, didn't bleh. I'm trying to think, did Duck ever post a text document of the lyrics of the Mr. Vile song? I honestly don't think he did. Now, getting into Mr. Vile round 1. This round was mostly standard affair until the very end when things got extremely stressful. How? Well, let's just say this. I almost lost a run to RNG Dude. Almost, but not quite. And you will soon see what I mean. As you can see, not a lot of these Yumblies and Grumblies were spawning around me. Instead, they were spawning, like, within the path of Mr. Vile. And there I barely won by 1 point. That, honestly, was way too close. And honestly, I thought that was a sign of things to come. Thankfully, that wasn't the case at all for the remaining 2 rounds. Still, the Mr. Vile minigame can really screw you over if you don't get the right amount of RNG. Especially when the RNG favors Mr. Vile, which about 60% of the time it does. Which is unfortunate. Which is the reason why sticking to Vile like glue is a very legit strategy. So yeah, as you can see here, this second round went a hell of a lot more smoothly than the last one. That is for sure. Again, I think it was because I stuck to Mr. Vile more in this round, and I also had better RNG. Now for the final round. And once again, standard affairs. Nothing really much to say here. If I'm being honest here with this last round, this really shat on Vile. I don't really get how. I guess I just got the best kind of RNG possible for this. Best of all, no text of shame this time. Yay! That is awesome. And that, folks, is Bubble Gloop Swamp. We're basically done here. Just got a couple more things to pick up, and then we are bouncing out of here. Excuse me. Also, that dragonfly at the very end there, he was not exactly in the most comfortable of locations, but somehow I made it work. There we go. Bubble Gloop is done. I'm honestly surprised that I got such a big-ass time save there from the previous segment. Saved almost 37 seconds, and I'm a minute and 20 ahead now, which is awesome. So, for those of you wondering, with this particular route I'm using, I'm doing Freeze's Peak in one trip as opposed to two, which is the most optimal route. As doing FP in two trips, it can save you up to 25 seconds. How? Racing Boggy the second time as the bee. Speaking of which, I have been practicing that for like the past couple of hours. I am getting it down, I feel like. Though I still need a lot more practice when it comes to it, especially when doing it consistently. If you're wondering what my high score is of doing it first try, how many times in a row? So far, it's 11. 11 times in a row. Can I make it 12? Can I go even higher? Can I go even further beyond? Okay, I'll stop. Alright, time for Freeze's Peak. First things first, time to light up this here Christmas tree. Which, again, is very, very easy to do, thanks to the fact that we can despawn these freaking munchers. And also stand here and twiddle our thumbs, get a nice quick drink of water, and get pecked on the head. Ugh, excuse me. I seriously wonder how long this takes, optimally. I suppose it doesn't take all that long. I really should take a look at the in-game timer to figure that out for myself. But honestly, I feel as though RTA is more accurate of a measurement. But even so, just saying. Alright, here we go. There I kind of took my time to line up my shot because I knew I was going to be sliding a bit. And when I knew that all three shots were going to hit their mark, that's when I started to make my move. And what do you know, folks, it paid off. Nice 40-second Christmas tree. Excuse me. I suppose the actual most optimal time is best seen on N64 when people do YOLO Tree or Yellow Star. You know what I mean? Here I was trying to conserve my feather count to lower myself onto that particular jiggy right there, but I accidentally hit the side of the pipe and landed. But I was still able to recover and land inside. Unfortunately, I missed out on the skipping the jiggy jig, but alas, it is what it is. Sometimes these things happen. You gotta do what you gotta do. Am I right? Okay. Now that that's done, let's head inside this here tree. After we dance around it for a bit, just to be sure that we are able to get on the damn tree. You know what I mean? Also there, I was trying to take it a bit slow because the hitbox on that particular jiggy right there is incredibly wonky as crap. More times than not, you'll phase right through the jiggy even though you are dead center and on the mark. I don't know why that can occur, but sometimes it does. Hence the reason why I try to take that a little slower. I guess in that instance I went a bit too slow. Okay, folks, time to get ready to fight the FaZe Snowmen Clan. That should be the name of a real freaking Call of Duty esports team. FaZe Snowmen. And the Sir Slushies, or whatever the hell their names are, that should be their icon. When it came to that first snowman, I honestly wasn't sure that whether or not I was going to hit the mark. But after that, the rest of this went surprisingly smooth. Probably the smoothest snowman I've ever had. I've also seen Seven Hornet swing himself to the left when he's getting ready to do this. Just so he has a little bit more distance to cover from the beak bomb. And so that way he doesn't take unnecessary damage, unlike me, who stinks. But at least I managed to get inside of Mumbo's hut. Even after crashing and burning on the freaking ground. And again, it's not that big of a deal anyway, because we'll be picking up more health along the way anyway. Now then, time for the first boggy race. The first of two in this trip. Oh boy. Of course, since this particular route is doing FP in one trip, I'm not going to be getting every single note during the first race, or all the collectibles during the first race, as since I'm doing it in in one trip as opposed to two, I'm more or less following the N64 routing with some modifications. It's kind of a mixture between N64 and Xbox, but it's mostly Xbox. If you couldn't tell from my weird routing earlier of the series of notes I picked up around the left leg earlier on of the giant snowman statue. Just saying. The reason why I say this is a bit of a mixture between N64 and Xbox is because the N64 portion of collecting notes comes in the form of the first boggy race. And that's basically all she wrote. Also, I went ahead and jumped in the water there just to pick up an extra red feather. You know what they say, it never hurts to pick up extras. You never know when you may need them. Also, I opted out of collecting 2 of those notes out of the 4 during the first boggy race. Honestly, I find that to be way too risky. Sure, there may be a little bit of time saved, but it may only save maybe about 5 seconds, if that. And honestly, the risk versus reward for that particular situation isn't worth it. But that's just my opinion. Others may feel a bit differently. And I'm sure 7 Hornet may consider getting 2 out of the 4 notes during the first boggy race anyway. In fact, I can't remember if he did that or not during his world record run. I probably should have grabbed a second bottle of water before continuing this. Oops. Oh well, no big deal. Not gonna worry about it now. I'm just gonna have to work with what I have. Plain and simple. Okay. Next, we're basically going to be cleaning up the remaining notes here in Freezy Peak. Now, if you're doing Freezy Peak in 2 trips, there's a gold feather that I pass up on later on, or just very, very shortly. I'm going to be passing on picking that particular gold feather up because I'm going to be picking up 2 more at the end of the second boggy race anyway. And besides, it's a bit out of the way. I mean, not really that much out of the way, but even so. And that gold feather I'm talking about is the one right here on the snowman statue's left eye. If you're doing FP in 2 trips, it's a good idea to pick up that gold feather. Because as soon as you pick up the remaining notes here on top of the hat, you would then grab the Jiggy, beat bomb over towards Boggy's igloo, drop off the presents, and then leave. Of course, with this particular run, I am doing this in 1 trip as opposed to 2. But as I said, I am working on trying to do B Boggy so that way I can do the most optimal route possible. Even if it's doing things my own way. Kind of. You know what I mean? It's like I'm throwing my own spin on certain methods or certain executions to make it easier for me to execute certain maneuvers, you know? It's one of those weird things that's kind of difficult to explain and more or less has to be shown, if you know what I mean. Time for the second boggy race, folks. Also, if you heard that in the background, I think a Windows notification popped up about something trending on Reddit or something. Regardless, ignore it. It's one of those weird things that just popped up in the recording. It's kind of dumb. Also, there I got stuck on the roof of that house. That kind of scared me a bit because I thought I was going to be forced to retire as a result of that. You gotta love the strange hit detection of this game sometimes, am I right? Excuse me. Okay, well, that's done. First boggy race, or no, the second boggy race, rather, is finished. Along with Freezy Peak. And at this point now, there's not really much else to say here. Also, those gold feathers right there, since I did the second boggy race as Bear and Bird, I picked up those gold feathers right there just so I can max out my count. Also there, I thought I was completely short, like ever so slightly. But thankfully I was able to get into the hole and swim my way to victory. Okay. And that saved over a minute. That's insane. I'm honestly surprised that saved so much damn time. It just goes to show how optimal Freezy Peak can be. Especially when you know how to do snowmen. You know? And they actually work with you. And they decide to take it like a freaking champ rather than do their Neo impersonations from the Matrix. Because, sweet Jesus, that absolutely blows. Okay, folks, next up is Mad Monster Mansion. And opening this level up, this should be pretty standard affair. Good lord, we can turn this into a frickin' drinking game. How many times have I said that throughout the course of this frickin' commentary? Every time I say it, take a drink of whatever you're drinking. Just don't go crazy. Don't go overboard. It's not worth it. There I kind of messed up the quick dive a bit because I jumped a bit too early, but I still managed to pull off some sort of a quick dive, and it's not like I lost that much time anyway. Again, no big deal. Also, if you heard that, that's my phone. Excuse me for a second. I'm recording something. Period. I'll let you know when I'm done. Again, apologies for that text message. My mother was just asking me if I was streaming or playing a game or something. And there it goes again. And basically I was just telling her I was recording something. And I would let her know when I was done. Again, apologies for that. Gotta love it when background noises occur. In hindsight, I probably should have told her what I was doing. That way she wouldn't interrupt me. But even so. Okay, Mad Monster, here we come. Those 4 notes, I swear, are just really damn funky. Like funkier than Funky Kong. I don't even know where I was going with that. Regardless, they suck. But thankfully, it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, next. There I got a pretty nice backflip onto the pole. I gotta be honest there, that was kind of lucky. And that bat, again, one of the weirdest things in this game is that that bat is way too aggressive. Sometimes they'll chase you to the ends of the earth, and other times they'll just go back to hanging around, being the Batman, you know? Honestly, at this point, I really don't have much else to say when it comes to this first part of Mad Monster Mansion. Also, there, for whatever reason, I took damage. Looking at the footage back as of right now, maybe the reason why I took damage there was because I jumped a bit too early while trying to jump towards one of the notes. Maybe that's the reason why I took damage. Regardless, though, that was a bit weird and kind of, you know, bull. Now, when it comes to Napper, I still have not been able to pull off Napper Skip. Hell, I haven't even tried practicing it. And to be honest, it really isn't that big of a deal for me, whether or not I get it or even going for it. There, I don't understand why that Rat-a-Tap-Rap did not break the door there. I seriously don't. Clearly, I was up against the door. Perhaps it was because I was facing the wrong way? Who knows? It's weird. Also there, that T, he was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Also there, I got stuck on the maze a bit. Amazing, isn't it? But seriously though, I think it's stuck on the maze. It was really bad. It was a really bad time. Excuse me. Now, here's where I had a bit of trouble. There I accidentally slipped off of the top of the maze after jumping on top of the maze successfully. So I went around to try again. And again. Just could not get the timing right. Eventually I did manage to get on top. Which, it could have been worse, but still, it was not great. I think the reason why I was thrown through a loop there during the first attempt was I did not think I would make it to the top of the maze during the first go. Also, I'm kind of surprised that worked out as well as it did. I managed to poop an egg without the need of taking out that gravestone. Plus, I managed to get away from it without taking any damage from it. Unfortunately, though, I still took damage from jumping on top of the prickled hedge, or whatever it is. Now for Tumbler. There, I don't understand why that did not register. Clearly, Tumbler was over the N, and yet it didn't count it. It's weird. Perhaps it was because Banjo's character model was not over the N, and that's why it didn't count? I'm not 100% sure how that's supposed to work. Regardless, this was a pretty bad Tumbler room. But again, as I always say, it could have been worse. Boy. Sorry. Feeling a bit tired this morning. I was kind of expecting to get up early to go walking, but guess that's not happening today. Now here, unfortunately, I did not get the Jiggy Jig skip like I wanted. So, I kind of had to fall back on backup plans. But again, not that big of a deal. It still sucks that I lost time because of that. Still, it's one of those weird things which I can't really nail consistently. I mean, I try, don't get me wrong, but timing that is pretty difficult. I'm not really sure what the actual timing is to execute that skip perfectly. I feel as though it's like just before the third bounce, or just as the Jiggy bounces the third time. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure in that regard. I'd have to study the movement a bit more in order to figure it out. But in due time, my friends, in due time, I will be able to figure it out. Figure out the science behind it. Also there, I overshot that second step there a bit, and I thought I was going to fall all the way back down. Thankfully, though, I was able to flutter back on and was able to recover. That was a bit, funky. But, again, I'm kind of surprised it worked out. Once again, Moat's hand is the same as usual. Follow the keys, or look at the answer, follow that, memorize it, and you're golden. And that's that. Now, this skeleton unfortunately had to be in, like, the wrong place at the wrong time. If that skeleton spawns to the right, unfortunately you will have to take a bit of time to knock it out of the way. You don't have to kill it, you just have to knock it down, and then you can just walk past it. Now then, time for the first empty honeycomb piece as well as the switch. A lot of people, from what I've noticed, they always swing the camera back around. Honestly, I find it to be more comfortable for me to be facing the camera, because you're at the perfect angle you're looking at the perfect spot, honestly. Also there, that Teehee kind of sniped me out of nowhere. But again, wasn't that big of a deal. It does kind of suck how he managed to knock me off of the bench. But, again, I was able to recover with minimum losses. Now then, time to get ready to finish this level up. One thing I noticed Seven Hornet did was he managed to get on top of the pole and also ground pound so he could grab the Jiggy a bit sooner. I've still yet to figure that out for myself. I would like to try to be able to pull that off sometime. Gotta love pressing down that switch multiple times, trying to get out a Talon Trot and also transform at the same time. Not exactly easy. Okay, time to wrap up Mad Monster Mansion. Once again, since I got a health refill back in the church, I used this opportunity to grab some extra gold feathers and also reduce my health a bit more. Normally I would have picked up those other 2 gold feathers there, but since my health was already at 4, I wanted to do more or less 3 health well. Sure, that's a bit too safe, but even so, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Because those whip cracks in the well, again, just like with the other whip cracks, their hit detection is wonky. Like, sometimes they may hit you out of freaking nowhere, even though it seems like they would be nowhere near you. But, again, they find a way to whack you. Always. Always without fail. And besides, there were other opportunities to pick up more gold feathers anyway, which I took advantage of. And that's Mad Monster Mansion. Overall, this level was... it was kind of crap. Honestly, it could have gone much worse, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst thing ever. Now then, it's time to head into Gobi's Valley. But first, before we do so, we do need to raise the water level for Rusty Bucket Bay. Excuse me. I also picked up that gold feather right there, just so that way I had more than enough for the next few levels ahead. And also, because I know I'm going to be using at least 1 gold feather for Rusty Bucket Bay for sure. Okay, let's get moving, folks. Let us get on moving. And again, getting to Gobi's Valley is once again no problem. It's the same as per usual. Also there, the reason why I went a bit to the left was because that gremlin enemy was in the path towards the entrance of where I needed to go. So that's why I jumped a bit around him, just so that way I don't end up hitting him and taking unnecessary damage. Because let me tell you, you're going to need as much health as you can throughout the course of this level. Trust me. Now, this first trip of Gobi's, it's a rather fun trip, let me tell you. For this trip, I decided to actually do Water Pyramid, even though it's more optimal to do that as the B. Also there, I honestly thought I was going to go down. I honestly don't know how I managed to stay on the platform. I think I was literally on like the very edge of where I could possibly stand. I thought I slid just slightly too far backwards, and again, that would have been really, really bad. But somehow I made it work. Next stop, the Puzzle Pyramid. And by Puzzle Pyramid, I obviously mean the flip puzzle, you know? Also, that particular mummy right there, good lord, he was in a bit of an awkward spot. So getting him optimally while saving the or spending the least amount of time possible trying to deal with him and also deal with the puzzle at the same time. It wasn't easy. Also, yay, no brain fart this time. And 66. For some reason I was thinking I had a 67 there, but still 66 isn't that bad, considering the circumstances. Also there, I took my time a bit, just so I can realign my shot, and also not slide off of the platform like an idiot. What can I say? I'd rather be safe than sorry. And also take unnecessary damage, because trust me, I need as much health as possible for this next section coming up. I wonder if it's possible to jump into the sand, get into Talon Trot, and then start moving. And still manage to get that particular note right there before receiving damage from the sand. It probably is, if I'm being frank here. Although, something like that is kind of difficult to do. Also there, the hit detection of that particular note was being extremely bad. I don't understand why, but alas, it is what it is. Also there, I flew a bit too high to grab that particular honeycomb. And there, because I hit the cactus, I thought it was dead. So I had to play this really, really safe. I wanted to be sure that I wasn't going to end up killing myself due to something stupid. So I just flew to the rock and just destroyed it as per usual without having to do anything stupid. And with 1 health, this is probably the most optimal health you can have at this point, but again, I'd rather have 2 for this point, but that's just me. Also, doing Water Pyramid as the bee, from what I hear, it saves about 5 seconds. Speaking of Water Pyramid, I kind of need to practice that a bit myself. I also need to figure out the correct note order and be sure that I'm in the right spot, at the right place, at the right time, and also make sure I'm at the correct height to be sure I can grab all the notes off of the platforms, you know what I mean? Just a lot of calculations I gotta figure out, and also practicing movement overall. And with that, folks, we're basically all but done with this level for now. We're just going to be picking up one more Jiggy, and also a few more notes. Now, when it comes to these next series of notes, it really isn't a big deal if you miss like 1 or 2 of these notes in the sand. But it's optimal to try to collect every single one of these notes. Again, no big deal if you missed 1 or 2, as you can come back and grab those notes later as the bee. Also, I got pretty lucky there being able to scrape by with 4 health for that particular section. Managing your health there is pretty damn difficult. Also, I accidentally slid on Gobi. Poor boy. Okay. And with the amount of health I have, this is more than enough for this final section. Especially if you screw up like me and end up missing notes like an idiot. that's done. That's the first trip of Gobies. Now, it's time to head into Rusty Bucket Bay. It's gonna be fun, let me tell you. Let's get moving. Also, if you heard any sort of desktop notifications just now, that wasn't from the video, my apologies. These notifications sometimes just pop up without warning, and it's kind of annoying. Anyway, opening up Rusty Bucket Bay, again, is just standard affair. Take a drink. Now then, Rusty Bucket Bay. My greatest adversary yet. Kidding, kidding. There I got kinda lucky with the way I moved around that room. Although that one A press on the lowest platform, for whatever reason it didn't register the input, so that kind of sucked. However, I did manage to still land on boxes though, over towards where the Mumbo token was. So at least there's that. Now for the worst part of the level, the engine room. Good lord, the engine room sucks. It always has, and it always will. And again, for this particular section, I'm playing it safe, waiting for the turbines to finish spinning. This way I don't accidentally slip off and die, you know? Because I kind of have a habit of doing that. Here I'm just trying to line myself up with the center of the fan. That way I can just go right through. And thankfully I was able to get through with only taking one hit. As for this fan, once again I played this a bit safe and went through it as Banjo because one time I actually got stuck on the fan running full sprint against it and got sent flying to my doom. That was definitely not a fun time. Also, really nice clip there. That was probably the quickest clip I've ever seen. Also, nice ground pound. Did not quite mean to do that, if I'm being honest here. But alas, it is what it is. There I had a little bit of trouble trying to get my footing together to perform a quick dive for this section. And I even got stuck on the fence a bit trying to get inside this one little area where the purple Jinjo is. That was kind of annoying and also pretty scary too, considering the fact that swimming around underwater in this godforsaken place, it drains your air twice as fast, considering that the water here is nothing but oil. But even so, I still made it work somehow. Also, I probably shouldn't have exited Talon Trot there, but The reason why I did it was just so that way I wouldn't end up back in the water. But I still ended up in the water anyway later on. So, it's one of those things where you kind of have to pick your poison. There, somehow I missed the third note, so I had to quickly ground pound. Also, my freaking foot. Oof! Out of the pain, out of the pain. Oof. It was like my muscle just suddenly started aching. Like, why? Ow. Ah, whatever. Pain's gone now. As I was saying, for whatever reason I missed that third note, so I had to quickly ground pound in order to grab it. And again for Boss Boombox, it's unfortunate that once again I didn't really get the Jiggy Jig skip, plus I got pushed back. But thankfully I did get the good push. In hindsight, it probably would have been faster to KMS there in that room. But again, no big deal, even if I didn't KMS. It's definitely something I'm considering in the future. I'm not gonna worry so much about health management when it comes to getting towards Boss Boombox. It's like, once I get the amount of health I need, 1 or 2, make sure I grab the Jiggy, and then everything will be fine. Now for this room, I took my sweet time, just so I could get the camera oriented in the right way. That way I could just hop on out of this room. I said hop out of this room. Yeah, that room kind of sucked. Oh well, like I said, it could have been worse. I've actually gotten stuck in there for quite a while before. If you've been to one of my more recent streams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also there, for whatever reason, I missed that note. I don't understand this game and its funky hit detection sometimes, I swear. Okay, next we got the Acid Pit of Death. Oh boy. Nice Michael Bay finished explosive and missed backflip. Great. I think there I turned a bit too sharply in the opposite direction, and that was the reason why that it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. But even so, it wasn't that big of a deal. And into the kitchen we go. Now, this next room, again, pretty standard. And also really damn easy. Especially if you take your sweet time and not act like an idiot. I probably could have picked up those gold feathers there on the bed, but considering my current gold feather count was relatively high, I figured at the time that I would be picking up some additional gold feathers, like just before Click Clock would, and along the way in this pass anyway. So again, it really wasn't that big of a deal. As far as the rest of this is concerned, it's basically more of the same. Just picking up a few more notes, a few more jiggies, the last couple of Jinjos, and then we are out of here. And also the second empty honeycomb. Also, those gremlins there, they can really be a bit of a pain in the ass to go around. Sometimes it's a better idea just to kill one of them off. That way you're able to get past them more easily. Also there, instead of going back into Talon Trot right away, I just proceeded on foot a little bit and then got back into Talon Trot. Also there, I completely missed the Jiggy during the roll, which sucked. Oh well, it's no big deal. Also that gesture. Looking at my current health right now, it's not exactly the most ideal. Especially considering the stuff we have coming up. And I think for this next room, I play it a bit safe by taking out a series of Champas. Just so that way they're out of the way. And I also pick up one additional unit of health and also kill off the enemy gremlins in here. Or at least one of them. I can't remember if I killed the other one or not. I don't think I killed the other one. I let him live. I spared his life. Now he can go on to do bigger and better things with his life and turn his life around. Okay. And with that down and out the way, and we got 3 units of energy, now it's time to wrap this level up. Here I got a really, really bad spawn for Snacker here. And as a result, I had to do things a bit funky when it came to this. And also, as a result, I was just slightly too late when it came to this Jiggy here. So unfortunately, I had to sit through this animation, which sucked. But at least it guaranteed that I kept my air supply. So, that's something. Still, it does suck that I lost like 8 seconds just due to bad RNG with Snacker. Now we just need to take a hit from a Champa, and then head on out of here. There I accidentally ground pounded a bit too soon, and that's the reason why I landed back in the water, which was something I really didn't want. But again, not the worst thing in the world. Could have been far worse. That is for sure. Alrighty folks, now it's time for Click Clock Wood, aka the longest level in this whole series of splits. Because unlike everyone else, I do Click Clock Wood in 1 split as opposed to 4. But that's just me. And my personal preferences. What can I say? There I kind of realized my mistake of, yeah, I was like, wait, what am I doing? Whatever. At least I was able to recover and get a second try backflip onto the glitchy leaf. You know what I mean? Now it's time to head back down to the bottom of the lair, open up Click Clock Wood, and get on moving. Some of you may be wondering, why is it that I save and quit here rather than take the Warp Cauldron back? Well, for this particular route, and really the Xbox version of Banjo Kazooie in general, the only way to execute Reverse B Adventure is via the Warp Cauldron in Click Clock Wood, aka the Click Clock Wood hub area. It was the first method of executing a Reverse B Adventure ever discovered, and sadly it's the only method that works here on Xbox, as the 765 note door clip That does not work here. It doesn't. It's unfortunate, but oh well. You can't really do much about it. I really wish there was another way we could just clip out of bounds and just fly to the loading zone. But no. Sadly, we can't do that. At least not yet. Nothing's been discovered yet. But it's not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, after all, as of recently, Banjo Kazooie 80% has been blown wide open, and the world record has been lowered more and more ever since over the past few days. All because there was a new glitch that was recently discovered that allows you to get into the final boss early. Like, way earlier than expected. I don't really know much of anything about Banjo Kazooie, so I can't really say how this even works. But even so, from what I hear, it's pretty insane. I do wonder, though, how is it that they're able to do it? That is definitely a mystery. And can it be done on Xbox? I'm going to say no. But you never know. Maybe. It's a possibility. Then again, maybe not with that current methodology. Who knows? Regardless, let's get back to Banjo Kazooie. aka this game. You know? Time for Click Clock Wood, boys. Now there, I picked up the extra gold feather from under the bridge, because I knew that was a gold feather I could pick up pretty easily. And there I got a pretty bad bounce back on the bear snare, but alas, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I needed to take damage there anyway. I was kind of hoping to have bounced towards the river, but oh well, it is what it is. And here I just completely missed the bear snare and the mumbo token, so unfortunately I had to throw away that extra gold feather I had just to pick up that mumbo token. And also, considering my health situation, I wouldn't be able to do soft lock strats here optimally. So I just had to take an L on that one and just proceed. Again, no big deal. It does save a bit of time, sure, but again, if you get... Here, I almost had a freaking heart attack. I don't know how that bird hit me, even though I clearly jumped over it. But even so, that was scary. Because if it would have pushed me into that bramble down below, I would have been dead. Sure, it would have not been that big of a deal if I would have died there, but it still would have been a pretty substantial time loss regardless. I'd say about 10 seconds, maybe? And even more time considering I would have to lower my health all over again. Thankfully though, I didn't have to worry about that at all. And I was able to proceed as per usual. Excuse me. Good lord. You know what they say, yawning is contagious. Anyway, since I picked up the Mumbo token in the water pyramid, that's why I didn't pick up the one in the Click Clock Wood Spring section, just underneath of Erie's Nest. Speaking of water pyramid, as I said before, I still gotta figure out how I can handle that best. Now for summer. once again, it's fairly familiar. And unlike most runners, I decided to wait out those frickin' birds. Because knowing my dumbass luck, I probably would have been pecked and thrown down off of the tree, wasting a lot more precious time than necessary. Well, again, excuse me. Anyway, for the gold feather count I had here, it was definitely the perfect amount to have. And honestly, I prefer to have that amount anyway. Also there, that was pretty damn flawless. May not have been the most flawless of executions when it came to hitting Gobi's hump and also not taking damage, but still, it was definitely something. Honestly, that probably would have been a bit too safe, now that I think about it, but still. It worked. And I'll gladly take it. Another thing too, normally I would have used the gold feather on that rock, but since I only had 4 gold feathers and I need all 4 for fall, I decided to just do a beak barge instead. And another thing worth mentioning too, for whatever reason, that one last note when heading into Naughty's house, I don't know why I could not get that one for the life of me. It was weird, it was dumb, and I hated it. Also, can these birds peck any dang slower? Apparently they can. As far as the rest of summer in Click Clock Wood is concerned, once again, it's familiar ground. There I fluttered because I wasn't sure if I was going to land on the leaf or not, or if I was going to slip off. Because you gotta love how slippery Banjo's feet are. It's almost as if he's wearing butter shoes. Also there, I grabbed the Jiggy from behind the house, rather than heading inside, like most people do. Honestly, it's way safer, more consistent for me personally, and it's not that much slower, honestly. Might be about a second or 2 slower, but again, no big deal. I almost went inside Nabnut's house, not thinking again, I think. I can't remember for sure. Regardless, summer is basically all wrapped up in a pretty pink bow. Oh boy. What's funny is that Eerie and I were yawning basically at the same time. Why am I so tired this morning? Well, as I mentioned earlier in the run, I did get up early thinking I had to do some walking, but, yeah, that's not happening today. And so, yeah, I know I should have had a cup of coffee or something, but I chose not to have one. I figure I'd wake up over time. I mean, I have, but not to the extent I would like. Now it's time for fall. And don't worry, we're not going to be falling off the tree anytime soon. See what I did there? Okay, I'll stop now. There, I don't understand how I took damage there. Perhaps it was because I ran a bit too long on the bramble after taking damage the first time? I'm not 100% sure. Then again, maybe I jumped too soon? Who knows? The game is weird with the damage properties of hazardous surfaces sometimes. Boy. Once again, for that particular section, I played it a bit safe. I did not want to try walking off just as I'm activating Wonder Wing, because believe it or not, if you do that, you'll use up a gold feather and not be in the invulnerability state. So in other words, you'll waste a gold feather for absolutely nothing. And let me tell you folks, gold feathers are pretty precious in this game. Not exactly easy to come by, unless you feel like going to certain levels over and over again just to refill on those things. But even so. It's something worth mentioning regardless. Yen, the yawning. Need to stop. Okay, time to head into the beehive once more. Oh, behave. Technically speaking, it's a hornet's nest, but still. Same sort of species slash family as bees, although I feel as though hornets are way, way worse. What can I say? Never been a fan of bees. I hate hornets. Plain and simple. Hate those things. Oh god, take a drink every time I yawned in this freaking recording. Also there, that dragonfly was a bit in the way, so I figured I'd try to kill it and knock it out. That way... And there I nearly had another heart attack because I hit the frickin' window in a weird way. Thankfully, again, I was able to flutter back to safety and recover. I think the reason why I had that problem was because my approach was a bit shaky. So, yeah, that was kinda lame. Also there, I decided to do a full backflip, just for safety reasons. Now then, Senpai right there, oh my god, it was definitely in a very bad spot. Thankfully though, he did eventually move out the way, but still, that was way too close for comfort. I wonder if it's possible for Nabnut to accidentally push you into his house during that animation. I don't think it is. But still, that would be kind of hilarious if that was the case. Now then, time to wrap up fall. Here I thought I accidentally got a little too close to Eerie as I was getting ready to feed him. Thankfully that wasn't the case at all. Okay. just after feeding Erie, I decided to take a bit of a scenic route in order to get around these frickin' birds. That way I don't end up having to wait for them all over again. Also, I intentionally fell on top of that Jiggy. That was all part of the plan. Even though that may not be considered optimal, considering I still need to lower my health a bit more yet, still, I made it work somehow. And also I find it to be pretty stylish to be able to pull off something like that. Also, I danced around the note a bit. I mean, Jiggy a bit. Oh, Lord. How am I getting my objects confused? Again, didn't quite mean to dance around it. For some reason, I kept missing the damn Jiggy over and over again. But I did manage to get it eventually. Now it's time for winter. As far as winter is concerned, out of the 4 seasons, I find winter to be the easiest out of the 4 seasons. But that's just me in my opinion. Of course, I'm talking about the Xbox routing when it comes to Click Clock Wood in general. N64 routing, especially higher level routing, oh my lord. It is something else entirely. Once again, at this point, there's really not a whole lot to say at this moment. It's just standard moving around and flying at the right points, grabbing the objects, and making sure not to land at the wrong time. There, I just completely missed that Jiggy. I was trying to make it so I could continue flying upwards ever so slightly. That way I could have grabbed it as I was ascending, but sadly it didn't quite work out that way. But at least I still managed to grab it regardless. As far as this particular empty honeycomb piece, this took a bit of time to grab. It was annoying. It was absolutely annoying as crap. But I made it work, somehow. Okay, we're almost done here. Just got a little bit more to go. And there, that fall was intentional, just so that way I can lower my health a bit. Although it didn't lower as much as I would have liked it to, still, it was fairly low at 3 hits. It also gave me a bit of breathing room when it came to dodging the snowmen, who were frickin' snipers, I swear. Really, these snowmen suck. They always have to hit you at the wrong time. Thankfully, they didn't do that today, or the day I was running this game, but still. Also, more runs are going to be coming soon, don't you worry. Ugh! Excuse me. Did not mean to do that. And now it's time to die! Time to die! Oh, man. What was up with that random-ass quote? I will never know. And with that done, it's B time, folks. It's time for the B. Time to play B-movie, aka the B-movie script. And no, I am not going to be reading the entirety of the B-movie script for memes. Besides, that meme has been dead for quite some time now. Still. Just saying. One thing I really wish the bee could do in this game, like it could in Banjo Kazooie, is attack. Sadly, it can't do that here. The only thing it can do is just move around and just fly wherever it wants, pretty much. Almost literally. Just saying. And that is Click Clock Wood, folks. Now it's time for RBA. One thing I will go ahead and mention now is that after I set this up and actually be able to pull this off, I did learn recently that 7 Hornet swapped around Spiral Mountain and Mumbo's Mountain the second trip and swapped those 2 levels around. So the next stop should be Mumbo's Mountain 2, but in this run it's Spiral Mountain 2. So that is something worth mentioning, and it is definitely going to be something I'm going to be working into the route in the future. And when I say in the future, I mean like sometime soon. Probably the next time I run this game again via an actual live stream, you know. The reason why he swapped the 2 levels around, it makes the most sense. Considering that in order to get into Mumbo's Mountain, you'd have to walk a bit, so that way you get underneath of the... No, what I'm trying to say is you have to walk a bit, and then go onto the... fly up until you hit the ceiling of that particular hub area, so that way you don't hit the detransformation trigger. Which is very easy to do. It's easy to not hit the trigger. But, again, Spiral Mountain 2. Very nicely done. Absolutely flawless. This, on the other hand, wasn't so flawless. But, it still worked regardless. Now for Mumbo's Mountain, the second trip. Here I flew a bit too high to grab that empty honeycomb piece. So I pulled back a bit to grab the 9th Jiggy. That way I could line myself up better for the second empty honeycomb piece for the level. And so that way I could fly over towards Ticker Tower, grab the last Jiggy, and finally the last 4 notes. As soon as Mr. Troll moves right on off of those. There I got kind of lucky, considering I got stuck for a bit. But I guess because I took it a bit slow, I was able to get back into the swing of things without too much of a problem. Now for Clankers 2. aka probably the most stressful level in this entire run. Because this level, when you're doing this as the bee, there is a possibility you can soft lock here. And it's not exactly fun when that happens. If it does happen, your run is over. Now here, I did not exactly do this part optimally, just because my flight was kind of scuffed. But hey, I was still able to pull something out, and I made it work. Now then, time to grab these last few notes and the last 3 jiggies. And also the second empty honeycomb, which is, again, the most stressful part of the entire run. That was probably the smoothest empty honeycomb grab I've ever done of that particular section. And I was so relieved when I started to descend and drop back down, and I knew everything was going to be okay. No soft lock today, which made me quite a happy, happy man. All there was left to do was finish the level. Which, believe it or not, is easy. It honestly is. The hardest part is just grabbing the second empty honeycomb piece without getting soft locked. It's not exactly easy. Trust me.
Oh no!
Even though I lost 3.1 seconds according to the previous segment, it really wasn't that bad. In fact, I probably would have saved more time if, considering my previous PB, didn't get the optimal gloop cycle, it was a pretty nice compromise. As far as this was pretty badly executed. I flew a bit too high, landed on top of the hat, landed in the water, had to drop back down again, and yeah, that was definitely not my proudest moment. Now, it's time for Gobi's Round 2. Now, Gobi's the second trip. This was definitely an interesting run to say the least. And you will soon see why. The worst part of this whole run was definitely like right around here. I had a bit of trouble clipping into the out of bounds area, and I think I know the reason why I was having so much trouble here. It was because at that moment I was not holding X. Plus, there I went a bit too close and ended up inside of the stop and swap room for the level. Lol. Thankfully I was able to recover right after and just bust right through the wall. And I was able to recover right after. Other than that, this level went surprisingly smooth. One of the smoothest runs of Gobi's 2 I've ever had. Honestly, at this point, I feel as though it may be a better idea just to stick with what I know when it comes to Gobi's Valley and my current routing. But, again, that's just me and my silly little opinion. So here, I got some pretty bad RNG when it came to the ancient ones. So I decided to just say screw it, fly around a bit, activate 3 of the ancient ones statues, and just worked with the RNG I was given. And I was able to make a smooth landing into this pyramid, the center pyramid to be exact. Let me tell you, it was definitely something. Honestly, you kind of need to get good RNG when it comes to the ancient ones if you want to do those optimally. But again, it's a lot easier said than done. Okay, folks, we're almost done here. Just gotta grab the Grab-A-Jiggy, and also finish up the ancient ones. Now, as far as this Jiggy is concerned, this really wasn't too bad to pick up, considering that I'm going to be jumping on top of Spinksy and dropping back down, so that way I can get inside of the Sphinx anyway, and do quote-unquote Gobi clip, if you know what I mean. Now for Spinksy. This is probably my most proud room. Of course, I know that this room can be improved substantially. There I kind of took a gamble with doing like, I think it was like 2 A presses of that. That way I could have grabbed the orange Jinjo. And also dropped down, grabbed the note on the one carpet, and then proceed to grab the other ones. Although it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. But still, I made it work somehow. And in hindsight here for this moment, considering my health situation, I basically had full health. It honestly would have been faster for me to not death warp here. It would have been faster for me just to leave. Leave the level and just fly to the exit without killing myself here. I'll definitely consider that for next time.
Oh no!
But other than that though, that was a pretty damn good Gobies too. Just had a little bit of a problem in the beginning, but other than that though, it was really damn good. Now, it's time to wrap up RBA. And like I said, not doing Boggy Race number 2 as the B in this run. But I am looking to be doing it in the future, for future runs, for sure. Still need to practice that. Especially when I'm trying to do it consistently. Good lord. Here I had a little bit of a problem trying to grab that 9th Jiggy right there, but again, it's one of those things where you just have to rub around and remain neutral, and eventually you'll get it. It takes a bit of time, but you'll be able to get it eventually. There I flew a bit too high because I didn't want to hit the first loading zone, I wanted to hit the second. But still, I made it work. And with that done, it's time for Furnace Fun. AKA the Run Killer, the ultimate Run Killer. Welcome to Furnace Fun, folks. Furnace Mother Truckin' Fun. God, I hate this frickin' place so much. This place has killed so many runs, it's not even funny. Even with the most recent discoveries of Ninpulk Skip and all, your run can still die if you get bad RNG. It all comes down to RNG. RNG. Everything. I lost the run to RNG, dude. What? JK. Now, the first few squares of this board is, once again, standard. Standard affair. Nothing really changed here. We just run through here as best we can, answer all the questions correctly, up until the death square. And here I had to listen for the audio cue here, because I did not want to do anything stupid. How many huts were there to smash? I thought the answer was 8, but I think the answer is actually 6. It seems kind of weird. Now here, my heart sank, because I got a grunty question. Because if you know me from last time, I made it to that point when I was on PB pace by almost 2 minutes. I lost the run to RNG right there, but not today. Not today. Thankfully, the question given to me via the grunty question was like, what kind of pet Grunty had. To be honest, I feel as though the most correct answer, the most correct sounding answer, to me anyway, is a dragon. Like, a dragon. Plain and simple. Honestly, I'm really glad that the answer I picked, which was a mad vulture in that case, it was incorrect. Once I heard that incorrect buzzard, I breathed a sigh of relief. I knew that this run was in the bag, and it was mine. Okay, time for the grunty fight at long frickin' last. There, I kind of had a bit of a brain fart, not thinking. Here I ground pounded way too soon, so immediately I kind of panicked and activated the Wonder Wing just to be absolutely sure that I wasn't going to die. Because considering my positioning there, Grunty could have easily knocked me off of the arena and killed me. And that would have been the run killer right there. That would have been awful. Again, thank God I had an extra gold feather around. It really did come in handy. Just like I always say, always have extras, just in case. Even if it seems like it's unnecessary, you never know. And there, that was an absolutely masterful slight or dog fight. Dog fight, get it? Now comes the Jinjo statue summoning. Here I got in a really bad position and I just pooped 3 eggs. Just for the hell of it. I was like, screw this. Again, Grunty's second fireball really threw me out of position and I literally took a crapshoot. And strangely enough, it worked. And there my aim was kind of trash. Even here, it was still kind of trash. But hey, at least I was still able to pick up the pieces, pick up the slack, and keep on fighting. Now, for this last bit of the fight, I actually decided to unmute my mic and capture my live reaction. And with that, folks, that brings this run almost to a close. Time for the Ginginator. And I will say this Ginginator was the smoothest Ginginator I've ever had. Two 12:45. Hell motherfucking yeah. GG, my man. G motherfucking G. Yes! Finally! God damn! That was sweet. I wanted to capture that live reaction. In whatever way I goddamn could. Also, if you heard that, that was my controller vibrating the ever-loving crap out of my table. Yes! Pretty sure this is 4th, but I can't say for sure. Damn! That was awesome. That makes me quite a happy, happy man. Alright. Sub 215 has finally been achieved. Next goal is top 3. Again, pretty sure this is 4th. If not, then it's 5th. And I checked, it's actually 7th. And that's the run, folks. That is literally it. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the run. See you all next time for more fun under the frickin' sun. Bye.